Hi, everybody. It's Barbara Schwartz. It was a terrific experience today being in Paramus and getting everybody off to some people coming back. I had one client come back today after 10 years, so she was doing great. And, she's actually getting married and in recent years had from stress, hadn't been taking as good care of herself as she'd like. And decided that with her wedding coming up in 2 months, it was time to jump on the bandwagon and take care of herself. So I was very excited to see her today and kick things off. Let's talk about stress. Let's talk about stress. As I said to the young lady who came in today, who's getting married, because she was all about stress eating, I don't think it's possible to be in this country and in most places of the world and be, I'll say the ages 16 and up, it may even be younger at this point, and to not have stress in your life. I don't think it's possible. People just not accepting differences. Again, taxes, finances, economy, hearing about different shootings, stress at work, stress in the family. We hear lots about illness and an ill family member. There's just so many things coming at us from so many angles. That stress does make us feel isolated, but sometimes it helps to know you're not alone. It doesn't mean your stress isn't unique and that it's not unique to you. It is. Whatever you're going through is very personal, and nothing that I say this evening is meant to take that away from you, okay? But when we're feeling isolated and alone, nobody may understand the situation that's stressing you out, but almost everyone around you does understand what it means to feel stressed. And many people, and I will say I am included in that, turn to food for stress. And we need to start the journey of changing that, because if we don't, not only are we stressed, but we're actually compounding the stress by the eating, because it's not actually providing relief, it's providing a distraction. And then if we're eating for stress and not for nutrition and not to feel good, but to really be distracted, in the end, it's not going to make us feel good. And if we're here, we're either trying to lose weight, to detox, or to maintain that weight. And so if we're going to fall into one of those three categories, eating at the end of the day is going to make us gain weight if we're stress eating. And no matter what, so whether or not we're in this to lose weight, detox, or maintain the weight we've lost, then stress eating is undermining us. And then normally, most people will tell me they're guilt-ridden after the fact. But, reality is we're all experiencing this stress and we're undermining ourselves by eating. Now, understand also, eating for comfort it's innate. As my father, Dr. Schwartz, will say, this goes back to birth. When we're born and we're babies and we can't communicate, we communicate by crying. And the very first thing in general that will happen when a baby cries is if you're being breastfed, your mom will give you the breast. And if you're being bottle fed, we'll give you a bottle. So baby cries, baby is fed for comfort. So now, that may not be the reason we're crying. We might be wet, we might be tired, we may be otherwise uncomfortable. My daughter used to get hysterical if she was too hot. So there are many different things. It's built into our nature that having something put in our mouth will give us comfort, right? So again, baby cries, mother feeds. So it's natural for our knee-jerk reaction to something that's giving us discomfort. Stress is an uncomfortable situation. If we're feeling discomfort, put something in your mouth, there's distraction and comfort. So again, we're programmed this way from an early age. So you haven't done anything wrong, But just because that's how it started doesn't mean we can't go through a journey of change and improvement. And I'll say, again, my name is Barbara Schwartz, and I'm a stressaholic, right? I'm a stress eater. Always was, always will be. So that's the first thing to acknowledge, is that you're a stress eater, and that's okay. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. But again, we can improve on the behavior. We're not going for perfection here. We're going for stress relievers, and we're going for behavioral improvement, not perfection. I will tell you, over these years of maintenance, what's changed and even helped my maintenance is I'm still a stress eater, but I've also put stress relievers in place that over time, again, I'm filling my toolbox all the time with better and better and more variety of stress relievers. And when you have stress relief, it actually feels better because you have relief. Relief versus comfort, right? Relief is what we're really looking for. And when we have relief, we feel better. So as we connect to things that will give us relief, we will often turn to them first. And that doesn't mean we won't turn to the comfort on occasion. But if we can start turning more to things that provide us relief, then ultimately we're going to be pushing away some of the bad habits. And I'm using bad habit because, again, it's not serving our long-term goals. And we're going to turn to new, better habits that feel better. So over these years, and again, it's not going to happen in a day, but day after day and life being cumulative, we're going to see exponential change and improvement. So over the years, again, when I started this journey and I had 25 pounds to lose myself, if I had 10 stressful situations, let me tell you, I was the CFO of a company and I worked 100, 120 hours a week, and I was sleep deprived, and I was in a very high stress job. And so I was stress eating constantly. And if I had 10 stressful situations, I stress ate 10 times. So that's what I did for stress. I ate. And what I can tell you now is, over the years, developing new behaviors and, more importantly, finding stress relievers that work for me. I still stress eat 2 or 3 times out of 10, but I don't stress eat 7 or 8 times out of 10. And now that it's more than half that I'm not stress eating, I can tell you maintenance is a heck of a lot easier, because some of the things that were undermining even my maintenance are falling into the background. Now, I don't ever expect to be at a 0 out of 10 stress eating. I don't expect it. And in and of itself, not expecting that is setting me up to succeed. If you expect to crack it all together and that you will never stress eat again, you're setting yourself up to fail. So let's start by acknowledging we are setting ourselves up to succeed, because we are winners, right? One of our slogans going way back, all of our losers are winners. And we're here to lose the weight and then keep it off. So let's start by acknowledging that we are winners, and we are not out to lose other than the weight and the fat. We are here to succeed, not fail. Therefore, we are not setting out to stop stress eating completely. We are here to improve our behavior and reduce the amount of times that we're stress eating by finding stress relievers that work for us. And the big thing, again, is filling your toolbox. Because just like I use the analogy of repairing your house, if your door is creaking, you might need some kind of special oil to put on the hinge. If the sink is dripping, you need a certain kind of wrench. But if there's a leak somewhere else, you might need a different wrench that's a different size. And if you need to hang a picture on the wall, well, in this case, my picture actually fell down, so I used double-sided tape to hang it back up. But I might use, 3M, the command strips that come right off, or I might use a hammer and a nail. And if I'm putting something together, I might need a screwdriver. So there are many different tools in their toolbox because there are different projects and different challenges that we're facing. Well, same thing. If you think about all the different situations that you're dealing with, and again, it may be the same type of stress, but it could be different situations. Not every stress reliever is going to work in every situation. So we need to fill our toolbox with options. I'm going to actually start with, because we do like to have treats and something good to focus on, I'm going to address love chocolate. Well, guess what? Me too. And I know you know that about me. So what about guilt-free chocolate? Nothing better than guilt-free chocolate. So we've got 3 recipes that are guilt-free chocolate. There's probably more, but I'm going to start with 3. And one is when you're on maintenance or you're on a veggie day, is our amazing chocolate truffles. Real cocoa. Cocoa is your chocolate, right? That's your real source of the real chocolate. And let's be honest, the higher quality cocoa that you invest in, the better the taste. So if we're using a Hershey's, you're getting a lower end taste. Using a Ghirardelli or a Dutch cocoa, or even a cacao powder that's really like that nice intense flavor, you're going to get a richer tasting chocolate treat. So it's okay to experiment and find out what kind of chocolate you like best. So our chocolate truffles, essentially off the top of my head, have essentially 3 ingredients, which is cocoa, dates, vanilla, and I think there's actually a pinch of salt in there, so 4. So essentially, you're making chocolate truffles from cocoa and dates. Now that's a pretty good guilt-free chocolate that's good for you. It's sweet, it tastes delicious, and it's not going to hurt your waistline like a box of truffles. So, and I made that for Thanksgiving as a dessert, and nobody knew that I hadn't bought them in the store, and they were really delicious, and I was eating them guilt-free. Told everybody after the fact to be guilt-free. So that's number 1. Then number 2 is the real guilt-free, which is our anytime chocolate pudding and our Ackee bonbons. And again, the anytime chocolate pudding only has 6 ingredients. Now, I'll tell you, if you don't like things that are overly sweet, reduce the amount of sweetener from the recipe. I will say the recipe is very, very sweet, and the more often I've made it, the less sweetener I've used. But essentially 6 ingredients. And the Ackee bonbons are essentially frozen version of the pudding. So let's talk about it for a minute. Cocoa, we just talked about cocoa powder, and again, vanilla. So again, even with vanilla extract, the higher end, the little bit of extra investment that you make, the richer the flavor will be. So if you like a nice chocolate, definitely invest in a better cocoa and a really high-end vanilla. I use Madagascar vanilla. It's usually a little more expensive, but the bottle will last a while. So we've got cocoa, we've got vanilla, pinch of salt, water, xanthan gum, that's a thickening agent, plant-based, no flavor, it's all natural, and 0 calorie, and natural sweetener. 6 ingredients. So, okay, water, cocoa, vanilla, sweetener, xanthan gum, and a pinch of salt. 6 ingredients, simple. Now, I just told you everything is in it. Pretty cool when you have chocolate and you know everything that's in it. Now, the recipe that's online does use a microwave. And a lot of you don't like to use a microwave. I hope someday to get there too, but I still lean on it. My colleague uses an immersion blender. So use the same recipe and skip the microwave and use your immersion blender. And again, if you don't like things that are that sweet, back off on the sweetener. Taste it as you're making your mixture. So before you put all the sweetener in, taste it as you go, get the taste that you like. So number 1, you have a guilt-free chocolate pudding. Think about what's in it. The only calories are actually from the cocoa, and the cocoa is the chocolate. But you're using 0 calorie natural sweetener, and nothing else has calories. It's all calorie free. And my favorite way to do it is we actually, for about $8 on Amazon, got a silicone candy mold. And we take the chocolate pudding and we scoop it into the mold and we stick it in the freezer. Now, we get them so they come out to about that big and they're about that thick. So they do take for us about 24 hours to freeze. But now I've got little chocolate fudgicles that I can have whenever I want. That's a 24/7 treat. And I will say now that I'm on the maintenance, I'm on phase 3, and I'm maintaining my weight, I have guilt-free chocolate anytime I want. Now, we're not in a calorie program. This is, it's not about calorie counting. I am living in a calorie world. I don't count calories. I listen to my body, but calories do matter. You overeat apples, there's still calories there, and that can make you gain weight. What's really cool is, again, I told you they're about that big and about that thick. 1.5 calories. Now, I've never had 10 in a row. Typically, I have 3, 4, 5. But if I had 10, that's 15 calories of chocolate, real chocolate. So I'm totally satisfied, loving it, enjoying it. When my daughter asks if she can have some, sure, as long as it's not dinner time, help yourself. Mommy, can I have a chocolate treat? Absolutely, go in the freezer. She gets mad at me if they're not in the freezer. They're great. Now, I've also made it, I haven't tried it in like an ice pop maker to actually make a fudgicle, and I will one of these days. So I'm not sure it will like come out of how it'll come out of the popsicle maker. But I did buy like very thin pan like lollipop trays for candy in the candy. We have Michael's here in the US. Craft store, and I got like little lollipop trays, and I did pour it in there and stick in lollipop sticks and made frozen lollipops. So I did do it that way, and that's more like, again, a whole fudgicle lollipop. So these are ways to have guilt-free chocolate, and you're getting real cocoa, but stepping away from the sugar and all of the processing that makes it so not good for our body. So it's a great way to really enjoy. And again, if you're into dark chocolate, get into cacao powder. Pure cacao powder is really, really savory, and limit the amount of sweetener that you add to it. So you've got a much more dark chocolate taste to it. But now, for those times that we are stress eating, I just gave you 3 different recipes that you can have guilt-free. Now, if you're using those when you're stress eating, after the fact, there's no guilt, because there's nothing you did to sabotage your body. It didn't sabotage your weight loss. It didn't sabotage your detox. It didn't sabotage your maintenance. So right there are 3 solutions that can help. Anyway, so there's 3 recipes for guilt-free stress eating. So let's start with that. Then we have sugar-free Jell-O. Again, sugar-free lollipops, sugar-free candy. Go for the all-natural ones. Go for things with xylitol, then you're doing good for your dental hygiene as well. So let's start with things that you can put in your mouth, right? So let's not avoid it. If we're stress eating, we're going to put something in our mouth. Now, again, a lot of that is oral fixation, right? Knowing comfort that we've got something in our mouth. So that's where maybe even making the frozen Acubonbons in that lollipop form, so you've got a stick. Or again, something like the Dr. John's all-natural sugar-free lollipops that have xylitol in them. When you pop a sugar-free candy in your mouth, you forget about it after the first few seconds, and then you're reaching for something else. There's something about a lollipop, the oral fixation, the stick is sticking out of your mouth, and typically with a lolly, we'll take our hand and pull it out and then put it back in, and right? So we're interacting with it. And so it's harder to forget that we have it, and we'll get more satisfaction for a longer period of time. And that's something you can have any day, any time. And the nice part, Dr. John's is a dentist, so he created it for kids to be able to have treats and have good oral hygiene. So again, guilt-free. All of those recipes are on our website, so I should mention to all of you. If you look under Anytime Treats, you will find the recipe for both the chocolate pudding and the Acubonbons, and there is actually a video of me making the chocolate pudding, so you can do it step by step with me. The one thing I'll mention is I realized until after we turned off the video that I think I forgot to add the vanilla at the end. Again, you can make it without. The other thing I was actually planning to try, for those of you who like flavored chocolate, I'm not somebody who loves orange flavor, but a lot of people like chocolate and orange. We could add a little orange extract or essential oil. I was actually thinking, I love chocolate and mint, and I've never thought about trying it, but I was thinking I'm going to, Passover's coming, so I'm in the middle of cleaning my fridge, But after Passover ends, I'm going to experiment with some peppermint extract and do that with the Ackee bonbons and make little frozen chocolate mint candies. So I think we can get really creative and expand on our repertoire with a little bit of use of baking extracts and essential oils. So I think we can pull off some interesting things. And so if you are up for experimenting, I challenge you to experiment with those chocolate recipes and adding some flavors that you like. And if you find something that you like, if it's a hit for you, it's probably going to be a hit for others. So please email us or post it online when we're at Facebook, and do share with others, because it's a great way to pay it forward. Again, our chocolate pudding recipe comes from a client, and I'll say thank you, Michelle, because it was a few years ago that you sent that to us, and I took it the next step and I froze it, and we got our Ackee bonbons. So it's really all of us as a group, right? It takes a village. When we all do it together, we get our solutions. So keep those coming in. For the chocolate truffles, the best way to find it is listed under the Veggie Day recipes. But if you do our ingredient search and put in the word date, then that recipe will pop up, because there's not too many recipes with dates. So that will be easier to find than cocoa. So that's number one. It's just, again, treats to go in our mouth. Also, sometimes it's good to have the deterrents. We've talked about them before. I'm sorry I don't have any props this evening. But there's the Listerine breath strips, brushing your teeth, a little peppermint oil under your nose or on your tongue. And my favorite new one are the Listerine breath tabs that they now came out with that are just so strong. You don't want anything after you've had one. And the breath freshener, but they're actually chewable. They're alcohol-free. They're sugar-free. And you can have them anytime. And you can use them as much as you want. I like it in the office because I'm seeing so many of you. And again, if I just had something to eat or even had a cup of coffee, I use them all the time to freshen my breath, because I'm going to be talking a little in closer quarters with you. And they're terrific, easy breath freshener, but I got to tell you, you don't want anything after you have one of those in your mouth. So as good as the breath strips are, these Ready tabs they're strong. So they are worth the investment in giving you a deterrent. Okay, so let's talk about some stress relievers. And I also want to remind you, and I know I've talked about this before, but we learn through repetition. And I don't think you can ever hear these things too much, and it helps me to hear them again as well. Food is an inlet. We're swallowing down the emotion. All emotions, especially stress, need outlets. Let's get it out of our body. Let it go. The situation isn't going to change, but our body has all of the stress, right? We're feeling, I want to curl up in a ball. I want to run and I want to hide. I'm going to eat to just suck it down and get smaller and smaller and smaller. I want to escape. But the reality is the situation, whatever that situation is that's stressing you out, it's here, or you wouldn't feel the stress, and it's not going away, or you wouldn't feel the stress, or it's not going away quite soon. Or again, you wouldn't be feeling that stress. So reality is, if it's there, we need to let it out of our bodies, because it's in our environment, but we're wearing it. Now, we know we can't see stress, but we feel it. And you feel it long enough, and it's going to manifest in disease, and be that IBS, spastic colon, high blood pressure, ulcers, too much acid in your stomach, acid reflux, constant burping, heartburn, just so many different diseases and discomfort come from that feeling of stress, anxiety that's pent up in the body and been swallowed down with no release. So for our health, we need to let it go. That doesn't mean it's going away. And I'm not discounting that it's in your life and it's real, okay? It's real, and it's real to you. It's even more real to you, because for whatever reason, for somebody else, it may or may not create stress, that same situation. But for you, it's creating stress. So understand, I'm not taking that away, and I'm not telling you you're wrong. You feel what you feel, and your emotions are real, and they're yours, and it's okay to acknowledge them. That's how you feel. But again, you're not alone. but let's not wear it. Food is swallowing it down. Now, again, because we are going to do that sometimes, I just gave you some tools to be able to do that and at least release the guilt that's further exacerbating what we're holding on inside. But all emotions, good and bad, and I'll call stress a bad one, right? Joy and happiness are good ones, but even they need outlets. That's why we laugh and cry with joy, right? We laugh with happiness and joy. And how often, my daughter laughs all the time. She goes, Mommy, you're crying. You're really happy, aren't you? I cry a lot when I'm happy. Something I do. I cry when I'm happy. My daughter thinks it's hilarious. I just well up. But again, even joy and happiness are not healthy if you're wearing them on the inside and don't let them out. That's why laughter is one of the best medicines. We need to open up and let it out. Okay? So let's talk about different things. And we talked about this, I think it was last week or it was 2 weeks ago. Great, easy stress reliever. And we're going to do it with you again tonight because you can do this anywhere, anytime, as often as you want, in almost any situation. And that's called the shoulder drop. Our muscles have muscle memory, and most of us carry stress in our neck and our shoulders, and add to it that we're on computers and we're hunched over, or we're working on our phones like this, right? So we're all hunched over. So everything is all that stress and tension in our upper bodies. So this is so simple, and it costs nothing. Free. I love free. Okay? Shoulder drop. Now, again, I find it most effective when we're standing, but I'm sitting right now, and I'm going to do it with you while I'm sitting, and I'd like you all to do this with me right here, right now. Okay, so let's do the shoulder drop. Shoulders up to our ears, up, and just like gravity, just let them drop. And we're going to do it again. Shoulders up, and let them drop. And one last time. Shoulders up, and let them drop. So we're going to do that 3 times. Up, drop, up, drop, up, drop. Our muscles have muscle memory. So the very last thing we did is let gravity, let our shoulders drop. And I bet all of you, if you've just done that with me, feel that your shoulders are just lowered, that they've opened up. You've got a little more mobility in your neck and your shoulders. And nice, simple stress reliever. Physical stress relief is just as important as emotional stress relief. Again, our cells and our muscles, they wear it too, and we're going to let it out. So it's a nice, simple way to physically relieve stress in our upper body. Costs nothing, can't hurt yourself, and you can do it as often as you want. Okay, again, shoulders up, just drop, shoulders up, drop, shoulders up, drop. So that's simple. Now, other thing, again, a lot of us carry right here, we carry it in our shoulder blades, but we're hunched over. So other thing, and again, you can't necessarily do this in your office, probably better off when you're alone, but nice, easy stretch. Let's open up those pecs. I don't know if we can see, I'm going to take a sit back so I can show you, is what we're going to do is just literally cross your arms in front of you and open up the sunshine. And if you feel it, I can feel my scapula, right? The 2 things that protrude in your back where your arms connect. You'll feel them squeezing together, and you're going to feel your pec muscles just opening up. So all you're doing is nice big ray of sunshine, and when you get to the middle, I think I look kind of funny angle-wise. Sorry, the angle to the thing that my arms don't look even. And you're just letting your arms hang when they get to your side, just very gently. And just let the weight of your arms pull the pecs open. But when you've been sitting at a computer for a long time and you're feeling your shoulders hunched, again, this is going to create stress in your upper body. And stress in our body even creates stress in here. So let's just open up again. From around, open the ray of sunshine. Just let them hang until it's not comfortable. And just bring them down. That's a nice way to open up the pecs again. The shoulder drop we can do just about anywhere, anytime, but that little ray of sunshine, you can do it in the morning, at night before you go to bed. Nice, quick little stretch. But again, going to give you some stress relief in your body. So that's another thing that you can do. So I've observed thousands of people personally. I've been very blessed to work with so many of you. And because I'm a stress eater, a little selfishly, I've been observing the patterns and seeing what works and doesn't work. And again, I've talked about this before, but my observation shows that short, jerky motions of the extremities relieve stress and anxiety. So as an example, if you've ever sat next to somebody and they've got that nervous knee and the knee is going, like you can't even replicate it yourself, right? Subconsciously, that knee is just going, like, oh, please stop, 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 stop. It's so annoying. And the person's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice I was doing it. And it stops for about 5 minutes because now they're conscious that they're doing it. And the minute that they forget about it, it starts again. That's the body's way of literally shaking it off. That person has so much stress and anxiety bottled in, the body will not wear it anymore. And it says, you're not doing anything to give me relief, I'm going to take it. That knee goes. I've watched people in meetings. I can't do this, I wish I could. And they are flipping a pen. You go nervous energy, you see somebody flipping their hair. My mother tells me she's a knitter. Knit, purl, short, jerky motions. If you ever watched an actor or somebody getting ready to give a big speech and they're backstage and they're typically pacing back and forth, right? They're just pacing, right? Short, jerky motions with your feet. But typically they're shaking out their hands. Getting ready to go on stage, right? I'm going to give a big speech. Shake it off. Well, it might look funny. It might feel funny. Got to tell you right now, right here, right now. Shaking it off. Shake it off with me, right? May seem and feel funny, but guess what? Bet you feel better in the next few minutes. You just do it until, oh, and my hands are nice and loose now too. Being on the computer, right? Shake it off. Okay. Shake your head. Jump up and down. Watch people go to the gym, they go in the punching bag, right? Short, jerky motions. Now, we all know that going to the gym, doing exercise is a stress reliever, but we can't always stop our day to do that, and that's why we need to connect with other things. When I was in the office and I first started going on this journey, and again, as a client when I was in my old career, I found, and I've talked about this many a time, but I just want to point out how simple a stress reliever can be. I just grabbed a paper clip. It just started taking my stress out on the paper clip and it broke. So I grabbed another one and it broke and took another one. I went through, on one conference call, I went through half a box of paper clips. But I can tell you, it was the first time I hadn't stress eaten with that particular client on a conference call. And it's the first time I really actually felt relief at the end of the call. I was much less stressed than usual. And I can only attribute it to that I took it out of my body instead of swallowing it back in. I wasn't wearing it anymore. Didn't change the situation. They gave me an unrealistic deadline. They were a multi-million-dollar client, and I had to cancel a date. And I knew I'd be working probably all night. I think I went home around 6 a.m. because I had to work all night to meet a deadline I didn't know about that they forgot to tell me about. And, you know, when you're in that kind of industry, the client's always right. Got to do what the client needs. But I was calmer, and I handled the situation so much better because I had some relief. And it turned out I was, again, short, jerky motions. I was letting the stress out of my body. And so I started keeping boxes of paper clips on my desk because they were a cheap investment, and I felt better every time I was feeling stressed, right? Grabbed the paper clip and I just started twisting. I felt better. So then my staff, because then I was the CFO, my finance staff started saying, oh, you're a fidgeter, and they started buying me fidget toys, and one got me a Rubik's Cube, not to solve it, but because those are hard to break and you can just twist. I got to tell you, felt really good. But again, look at short, jerky motions of the extremities, right? Sometimes I just would subconsciously, if there were no paper clips, grab a rubber band and be doing this. And then I got a worry stone. I know I talked about that, I think, last week. And there's little oval stones with a little spot for your thumb, and you just rub it. And again, short jerky motions of the extremities. I used to keep that with me in my pocket because they're really pretty. And so it was like something pretty that I could fidget with, and it really was unobtrusive. But boy, could I make it warm and build up the heat on that, rubbing that between my fingers. One of the ones I love is, when you're home, take yourself an old pillow and turn it into your punching bag. Visualize whatever it is, not the person, but situation. Whatever situation is stressing you out, take out that pillow and turn it into your punching bag. And it feels good. Just get it out. Get it out. One of my other favorites was always, if you recall, those old wooden paddles that have a little red ball on the rubber band, and you're supposed to do this. It'll work like this, but also, again, just like a punching bag, if you hit it this way, again, that feels really good, right? Now, when you do have time, obviously, going and having a good workout, you can do it at home, doing your sit-ups, doing squats, running in place, jumping up and down, doing jumping jacks, jumping rope, going for a run, going for a swim, doing things that move your body. Again, moving our body is throwing it off. Let it out. Give yourself permission. It's not going away. So you already know it's not going away. But give yourself permission to let it off. Let it out. Let it out. Again, you still have to deal with the situation, whatever it is. But you don't have to wear it. Or you don't have to wear as much of it. And let me tell you, when you have some relief from letting, I mean, like even just, even the whole day, just doing all of these things, sitting here with all of you, my body is so much calmer already. And I'm not feeling particularly stressed right now, but my body, even just from doing all this, I'm so much calmer. Wow, that just feels awesome. And you know what? When you feel better and you have some relief, you have a clearer head. And when you have a clearer head, often you can find little ways to improve the situation that's been putting the stress on you. Now, again, it doesn't mean that the situation is going to resolve itself. Typically, if we're feeling stress, it's a situation that's beyond our control. We're all put in situations beyond our control. And the most one, I will tell you, the one that I do hear most frequently is either illness of a loved one, or there's just not enough hours in a day to do all the things I need to do. So, for example, I'm even just sabotaging my journey because I'm not following it because I'm stress eating, or there's not enough hours in the day to plan for myself. And, I go back to, okay, but if we keep telling ourselves the same story in our head, if there are not enough hours in the day and we're not taking care of us, that means we're prioritizing other things ahead of ourselves. Because if everything's not getting done anyway, and that's what's creating our stress, I just can't get it all done, there's just not enough hours in the day, and my to-do list is growing. Okay, guess what? My to-do list is growing, and not everything I need to get done is done. And I often feel bad. I am sure that, I've heard my cell phone go off multiple times. There are texts coming through from clients who need my help. And luckily, I made it home in time to see my daughter. But I didn't get to spend as much time with her as I wanted because I knew I was going to be here with you. But I was able to give her a hug and a kiss and say, Mommy loves you. And I didn't regret any of that. But there's just not enough hours in the day to do it all. But where are we making the time for ourselves? Reality, when it's urgent, if you're bleeding, you stop what you're doing to take care of it. When you're incredibly unhappy, like you've just hit your limit in depression, whatever's about to hit, usually it becomes urgent and you take care of it. But what are you telling yourself and what are you teaching others, right? Many of us are parents. If we don't ever make the time to put ourselves first, what are we telling others? That they're not important either? When we show love for ourselves and we show people that we can put ourselves first, not selfishly, self-lovely, right? When we can put ourselves first, briefly, we'll put ourselves in the mix. We're showing our worthiness. And by the way, in case nobody's told you lately, you are worthy and you are lovable. And it's okay to love yourself, and it's important. And that's an exercise I also think we should do today. And I'll be honest, I've been rumbling around this in my head, and I haven't discussed it with my father. And again, he's the professional psychologist. But I really just come to a realization of something an exercise we really need to do, including myself. Which is, again, he talks constantly about the need for self-love, and we all get it, but are we really doing it? I don't think so. Not many of us. But again, we prioritize things that we consider urgent. And taking care of ourselves is urgent, and we're important. And making the time and fitting that in, we can make every excuse in the book of everything else that's important. They are important. I'm not discounting that. But let's remember what they say on the airplane. God forbid those masks come down. You put yours on first. Because if you cannot breathe, you cannot help anyone else. Now that goes for your health. Most people are here for their health. Okay, you can call it cosmetic. My clothes don't fit the way I want. But if your clothes aren't fitting the way you want and things are tight, then chances are your health is at risk because of your weight. Most of us don't want to lose weight. Yeah, we want to look better. But the real underlying is we don't feel well, right? We're having trouble walking. Again, and I confirmed this with my client, the orthopedic surgeon, every 1 pound that you lose is 4 pounds of pressure off your knees. But it also means every 1 pound you gain is 4 extra pounds of pressure on your knees. Are you up 10 pounds? Have you gained 10 pounds? You just put 40 pounds of pressure on your knees. What are you going to do about that? Are you up 50 pounds? That's 200 pounds of pressure off your knees. What are you going to do about it? Because if you don't do anything about it, all those other responsibilities you have, they ain't getting done because you're physically not up for the challenge anymore. And then what's going to happen? So it is urgent to take care of you, and it is urgent to prioritize you, and you matter. And so it's time to step up. And again, all those other things, there's never enough, and one of my other things that I look at, and granted, we don't have the money and resources that somebody like Richard Branson has. We don't have the staff and all the people to delegate to. This is a man who runs multi-billion-dollar businesses, and more than one. And he has the same 24 hours in a day. Now, granted, there are staff and there are people he can delegate to, and people can cook for him and all those other things. But at the end of the day, it's the same 24 hours in a day. All of us have the same 24 hours in a day, so it's all how we decide to prioritize it. And again, if we don't take care of ourselves, everything else probably takes longer. And if we're taking care of ourselves, we probably find it's a lot more efficient during the day, and we actually probably get more of our to-do list done because we have more energy and better focus, and we feel better. So the thing I was thinking about is, how often do I look in the mirror and go, if only my arms had better tone, if I made the time to exercise, and, this is not that I need to lose weight. I haven't done the exercise that I need, and, I'm bottom heavy, and no matter how thin I got, even with AccuWeight, I've got a tush, and I've got thighs, and the minute I retain water, my thighs grow an inch, and gosh, what else don't I like about my body? I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? It's time to say, I only have one body. I only have one, and this is it. And you know what? I love it. It's mine. I love it. And it's imperfect. But I love it because it's mine. And it's time to acknowledge that I love it in all its imperfection because it's mine. And it's unlike anybody else's because there's only one Barbara Schwartz. And other of us with our name. I've met a few of us. But there's only one Barbara Schwartz that's sitting here in front of you. And this being deserves to be loved. And I'm going to start to acknowledge that I love myself and my body and all my imperfections. And what's different, I can work on making it better. I'm never going to make it perfect, but I can work on making it better. And why would I make it better? Because just like my daughter, who I love, and I want to help her learn, and I want to help her improve, and I want to help her make good decisions. Or just like a parent or a loved one that you're helping who might have a physical ailment, and you want to help them. We look at the people around us who we love, and we say, oh, that doesn't feel good. I can see that doesn't feel good. How can I help you? So now let's look at our being, and let's say, I love me. I love you, right? I love this body, but it's not perfect. And because I know that it's not perfect, which means there's something that might be ailing it, what can I do to help it make it feel better and show love by working on it? So if my knees hurt because I gained 30 pounds, I can take 120 pounds of pressure off my knees by losing 30 pounds. I can do that in 2 months if I really do it. So, okay, I can show myself some love, and I can show this imperfect body that I love, but acknowledge I love it. It's perfect today because this is where it is, and it's mine, and it's all I have. It's mine. I love it just the way it is today with all its imperfections, but it is ailing in some ways, and I'm going to, just the same way I would commit to someone outside, that I'm committed to all of you, right? Why am I here? I want to make you feel better, right? I want to help you feel better. Well, I want to help me feel better. And the only way to do that is to commit to baby steps, just the way I help all of you with baby steps, and that you're helping somebody else with baby steps. Let's do each of these things and look at it and say, what can I do a little bit different today to help it along? Is it doing the Qigong? Is it doing a stress relieving exercise? Is it making my lunch and packing it before I go to work? While I'm packing my kids' lunch, I'm going to pack mine too. Young lady who came in about her wedding today, but with all the wedding plans and things, and I don't have time. Okay. So you're not happy, and you don't feel that you're going to be happy like this on your wedding day. So with all now you made the time to come to the office, but you've got all these wedding plans that you're making. Well, if you don't make the time to prep your food or create your strategy for food, you're going to get to your wedding day, and that's one more piece that you were planning that didn't fit and get to goal. So would you rather that you're feeling great in your body in your wedding dress, and that when you look at your new husband, you feel great about yourself and you've got more energy and health going into this relationship? And maybe something went sideways with, she was talking about, I guess, party favors that hadn't come in yet. Okay, well, I'm going to look and feel great, because that's what goes on the day after the wedding. I still live with this body, or the party favors. And quite honestly, if I'm taking care of me, I probably can focus and figure out a solution to the party favors. Right? Like, I've been working long hours and not getting enough sleep. And I can tell you that all honestly. Many of you know that. I've been walking around sleep deprived. But then I realized the more sleep deprived I am when I'm trying to talk to all of you, answer questions, answer emails, process orders, work on our new strategies, or quite honestly, even work on our financials for our taxes. If I'm overtired, I'm not focused, and I'm not focused, I'm not doing such good. Let's take the change, because if I go to sleep early, I'm not spending as much time getting the work done. So in the moment, it feels backwards, because I got to stay up all night and get the work done so that I can face tomorrow. But guess what? Yeah, for the first few days of going to sleep on time, I worried about how the work would get done. And again, I'm going through this process. I've done it once before. I fell into an old habit, and I've been working till 3, 4 in the morning. And I'm just started making this change again. And said, you know what? When I go to sleep at a reasonable hour, and I get 6 to 8 hours sleep instead of 3 to 4, I'm better focused, and I actually am more efficient, and I get more work done. So in less time, I get more done because I took care of myself. So the initial change, making the decision to change the order I do things. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. The work's not getting done if I'm sleeping. Go to sleep. So go to sleep. And again, I wake up refreshed. I wake up focused. I wake up organized. And I get more done. So now in less hours, I'm getting more work done. Counterintuitive. Doesn't make sense, except it does. So how many things are we doing inefficiently? Because that is the thing I hear the most of. There's just not enough hours in the day. So how often are we not taking care of ourselves because we say there are not enough hours in the day? Well, guess what? It's very uncomfortable to make this change. Love you. Love your one vehicle. This is your one entity. It's the one you're wearing. You don't get another one. This is the only one you got. But when you start to take care of it, it will start to take care of you. And you're going to be able to get more done with more focus and more energy and better decisions and less stress. And again, the stress isn't going away, but we're better organized and we can fit more into a day and we feel better about it. The stress does reduce itself a little bit. So again, it's uncomfortable, but we're not comfortable today, right? We're wearing the stress already. So being we don't want to wear that stress anymore, at least not at the level we're at. It's okay. We're uncomfortable, right? The stress makes me uncomfortable. I'm guessing it makes you uncomfortable too. At least that's what I hear when I meet you guys in the office. I'm uncomfortable. And I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm unhappy. You know, taking the step back, it's just another level of discomfort, but it's temporary. Making that decision to make that change, because what you're doing today, it ain't working for you if you're feeling that stress and discomfort. So what are you going to change? Pick one thing. Pick one thing, not 20 things. One. Pick one little thing and make a decision to do it differently tomorrow. Not so hard. And stick with that one thing. Let's stick with it for a week to start, because we may not be successful every day at changing that one thing. Change takes time. Habits are the things we do without thinking. So why do you know? For example, they say, the example all the time is, I'm on a diet and there's the piece of cake, and I know if I eat the cake, I'm sabotaging my diet, but there's the cake and I eat it anyway. How come? Because it's the habit, and the habit are the things we do without thinking. So even though you know better, you do it anyway because it's your habit. So again, we're not going to look to break our habits. We're just going to start putting new improved behaviors intentionally on top of the old habits. We're going to prioritize the new behavior. So choose one thing that you'd like to do differently tomorrow because your current behavior or your current habit is making you unhappy. And again, maybe that is drinking more water or having your electrolytes, or as I put up the challenge, doing Qigong once a day, preparing your food while you make your kids' food, getting yourself your paper clips or your rubber bands or your Rubik's Cubes, or just shaking it off, doing the shoulder drop. Pick one thing that you'll do differently tomorrow. What will you do differently? I'd love to hear from you. Email me, text me, send it on Facebook. I'd love to hear what you're going to do differently. But let's do it differently every day for the next week. And let's make a change so when we meet this time next week, something has moved forward, and something has reduced our stress, and something is making us feel better. Please keep reaching out with your comments. Tell us how we can help you. And let's see less of you and healthier you next week. Take care and have a good night. Thank you for joining me.